What up, family? Welcome back again. It's me, Chef Chad Cherry, your host for another fabulous meal. Today we're going in, y'all. This is a classic. My family, as you know, is from the South, even though I'm from New York. So this is actually a slave meal. But we modernize it because that's what we do. It has basis in original American cuisine, and it is called Hoppin' John. Now I know you're looking at the ingredients, and normally I would show you the ingredients, and I'd be like, hey, can you tell me what we're making? Today, however, I wanted to go through it because unless you're from the South or your family's there, you may have never, ever heard about this phenomenal, amazing dish. But now I'm gonna walk you through it. So we have rice, shrimp, black-eyed peas, and turkey bacon. These are the main ingredients. Hoppin' John is a rice dish. And traditionally, Hoppin' John is just gonna be the rice, regular pork bacon, and black-eyed peas. But because we try to do things healthy, we try to modernize it, we are going to use turkey bacon instead of pork bacon. And because we want to go ahead and elevate this a little bit, we're gonna add a little shrimp to this. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna flex a little bit. All right, with that being said, I also want to go through how we're gonna make this. So ahead of time, if you're preparing this with me, you can go ahead and know the steps. It is always what takes the longest that you do first. So our first step today is moving over. We're going to slice thin strips, right? Our bacon and our celery. I'm using organic celery. I'll talk about that more later. There's a great reason for that. Put that in the skillet. You gotta let that cook for about 5 minutes. You gotta let it crisp up. While that's cooking, you're gonna take your peppers and onions and you're gonna cut those and get those ready. Now, the peppers and onion will go in, but they go in after the first 5 minutes because you want to make sure your bacon and your celery is crisp. So after 5 minutes, you put your peppers and onions in. Now you have those 4 components in already. You're going to, at this point, add your water, a little bit of oil, and then your black-eyed peas. Now, the peas are the star of the dish, and just like beans, they give it a lot of flavor to the water, so you do that. Bring your water to a boil, then we add in our rice, and we turn it down, simmer it, we'll cook it all the way through. While the rice is finishing, we'll be doing the other stuff to plate it. So we will saute some shrimp to have that ready. We're gonna do some garnish work, and we're gonna talk about this dish. So that's our meal today, Hoppin' John. Let's get it, guys. Hope you're ready. I'm gonna glove up now. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask.
And then how much was this meal? Because I know that what we're working on today
Shoestring budget.
is our shoestring budget.
Okay.
So let's see, shrimp. Where'd you get the shrimp from?
So the shrimp I got the shrimp from Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that the best place you think to get shrimp? I know when Dixie sometimes has like buy one get one free.
Literally, yeah, exactly. It depends on the sales. This time they did not have a sale, and Publix didn't have a sale.
Okay.
So Walmart had a sale, and this bag of shrimp was $7. No, $6.50, which is still high. That's a lot of our budget for shoestring budgets. I try to keep them in the $10, $15 range.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, if you're cooking for a family of 4, you'll use the whole bag. If you're only cooking for a family of 2, you'll use half the bag. So by that logic, as soon as I figure out how to get my glove on, by that logic, this bag, we could divide it in 2. So instead of $6.50, we can count that as $3.25.
Nice.
Right?
And then I know normally we use brown rice. Brown rice takes a little bit longer to cook.
Yes. And sorry, please.
No, I was just gonna say brown rice takes a little bit longer to cook, but I also know that the tradition we're mixing up. So we're mixing holiday meal and shoestring budget meal.
Yes.
And
we're still trying to be cognizant, and you're mixing traditions. This is soul food.
Got it.
This is a soul food dish.
But I know they
can substitute brown rice.
Yeah.
Or quinoa or something else, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's barley, maybe.
Barley, maybe. And I'm just gonna pull a couple of stalks off, right? You don't need a lot. So the celery was like $1 and some change. The organic one is more expensive than the other, so maybe $2. But because we're not using the whole head, once again, you can divide that cost.
Yeah, and it's one of those things we can add to our meal planning because
we can make snacks out of these.
Yes.
Yeah, our son is actually gonna love that later on. And organic celery.
We're gonna make some ants on a log? Ants on a log?
Ants on a log, I forgot about that. I was just gonna put a little bit of dressing with it and keep it moving.
Okay.
But I like it. No, what I was gonna say though is the taste of the organic celery. it actually has flavor. You taste celery normally and it tastes like water.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the non-organic version does not have flavor. This one does.
And then I also know that
I'm cutting the tops and the bottoms off, right? Because we're not going to use those.
I also know that in the traditional dish, which we make this for the holidays almost every year because it's like one of my favorites. But I would imagine that the traditional way to make this dish was not with turkey bacon.
No, it was a pork bacon.
Okay.
That's
so like we don't eat a whole lot of pork in our house.
Guys, but as we prepare it, go ahead and cut right in the middle. You don't want too big pieces. Trim straight down the middle with the top of your blade, okay? All right, because you just don't want big pieces. If trimming is too hard, take your knife, put it in here. All right, when you get down to the bottom, if you still have a large piece, like see this piece is smaller, this still feels a little bit large, we're gonna cut that in half again. We're gonna bisect this again.
Yeah, because we want the flavor, right? We don't necessarily want large chunks of.
Do not want large chunks. You just want tiny bites. And I know for those of us attempting to skip celery, I will tell you that this is absolutely essential for this dish, flavor-wise, all right? So take the time. You want the flavor here. Now, we were talking about the reason why we used regular rice, white rice, jasmine rice to be exact, as opposed to using brown rice, which is healthier. So in this dish, I wanted to keep it as traditional as possible. That's what Hoppin John was. It was a white rice. And I figured because I substituted out the pork, because we're doing a few other things, we're not adding the butter and a few other things that would be in a traditional recipe. I was like, you know what? I can get away with some carbs.
So I love the fact that these like traditional meals are by creation or definition or whatever are shoestring budget meals because they really had to do with what they had, right? So you had to use what you have.
Cutting these really small, really small, guys. So really thin. Just be patient as you cut. Yes, babe, you had to do you had to use what you had.
And it's not very heavy on the meat. It's mostly right. It's mostly like fillers, maybe things that you had left over from other meals. And when you're talking about shoestring budget, being able to use the things that you have around your house, which is what we said in the last class as well, right?
This is why you got to build that pantry muscle.
Right. So having onions and peppers and celery and different types of greens, it not only helps us to remain on budget, but it also just helps us to eat healthier.
Right? Now remember, if you're cutting on your counter with a cutting board, slide the board back to the edge of the counter so the board is slightly over the lid. Place your bowl underneath with the back of your knife, not your blade, the back. You want to sweep everything off your cutting board. All right. So this celery, I'm going to put a little bit of water in here because it's celery. It does need to be washed. There's a little bit of surface dirt, nothing too crazy, but go ahead and wash it. Okay. And at this point, as you just drop a little bit of water in to wash your celery, at home, you would just wash this right in your sink. As you drop a little bit of water in to wash your celery, go ahead, preheat, stock pot, right? This is what you're using for rice. So once again, once you cut your celery small, add a little bit of water to wash your celery, start to preheat your stock pot, or what you're going to eventually cook your rice in, on medium high, okay? That has to be smoking hot. All right, celery, we're just literally just going to put our hands in and just literally agitate it. We don't have to do too much. All right, we don't really have to do much at all. It's just agitating. It's like washing, what do we want to call it? It's like washing potatoes or something. You just want to get the surface dirt off. Celery's cut small. Next thing, we're going to go to our bacon. I'm going to show you a cheat code on this bacon, but I can't do it the way I really want to until this gets hot, but we'll start. We're going to take scissors and we're going to cut around the edge so we can get into it easy. Okay, cut. Let's put that in the trash. Let's put our scissors here. I don't want to contaminate my cutting board, So I'm just putting this down on the edge of the aluminum foil. At home, you have access to a sink, so you can contaminate your cutting board. And I did not cut this open well enough. That's me being silly. But in the studio, we don't have that same water access, so we have to be careful about contamination. Now, family, all we're gonna do, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of how I plan on doing this right now for our bacon. If you wanna work with a knife, you can work with a knife, and I just dripped some of the juice, so I have to be careful. But we're going to take the scissors, just gonna cut thin strips, okay? And that's how we're gonna prep our bacon, right? It's a little more work, but it doesn't contaminate my cutting board. Very, very easy, so cut the strips, okay? Now the scissors are a little bit more jagged. Now to show you, I took a small piece of bacon. I took one strand. I'm gonna go ahead and put about 4 or 5 of these together because this is slow-mo for go-go over here. All right, so that's how we do it without contaminating our cutting board. We're gonna use all of this bacon here. Don't worry about it. I'm still waiting for my skillet to get hot, so we are okay on time. Like I said, I didn't want to contaminate my cutting board, but you know what? Speed is speed. I showed you one way, let's go with another way, okay? Let's go with the other way. We're gonna stack up our bacon. We're just gonna rock through this with our knife because speed is speed, and my skillet is almost hot.
So if we wanted to make this a completely vegetarian meal, I know that that's completely changing it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But what could I substitute? And I know you're gonna say mushrooms, right?
Oh, of course, portobellos. But they also have some Eve's like meatless ground, or they have a vegan sausage.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Which has a lot of flavor packed with herbs and stuff. And you can use that. I mean, when I made vegan collard greens, I used a little bit of the vegan sausage with some onions and stuff, and we put it in there, and it worked. Phenomenal.
Awesome.
I mean, phenomenal. All right, so this is ready. All right, you see how 1 pack of bacon left us with a lot. That's a lot of bacon, so we're good to go. I'm gonna move this out the way. I can tell that my skillet is hot. I can smell it. We're just here. We're gonna add oil to our skillet now, and we're gonna add our bacon in first. Bacon before celery. This is important, okay? And to make sure that I don't contaminate my my everything that I'm touching. Take off the glove. So double glove love. That's why you wear 2 gloves. So one hand can work with anything raw, potentially contaminated, the other hand doesn't. Add your oil in. This is vegetable oil, right? We're not gonna use vegetable oil to cook with, but we need it for this particular part right here. And you see that smoke that's threatening to choke me? That's the good stuff. You hear that? If you don't hear that sizzle, it was not hot enough. Understand what I'm saying to you? It was not hot enough. Now let's get all of our bacon in here. This is going to cook, right? You want to cook the bacon for the first minute by itself. Just take it, stir it, right? The bacon has to be crispy. So this has to be very hot, okay? Which means that if you look at the bottom of your pan and it's really sticking quite badly, add a little more oil. And it's okay, because we're gonna soak up all of this. This is turkey bacon, so unlike pork bacon, it doesn't have the same fat content. So you need a little more oil in there. I don't want that to scare you, okay? But just let it in, don't stir, let it stay smoking hot, let it work. While that's happening, let's strain our celery and get ready to use that. However, these holes might be too big.
It'll be fine.
Nah, we're gonna lose half of that.
Do you need me to get you something?
Nope, because I'm better than this. That's what I hands for.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about a spoon too, but my sliding spoon
also big.
My spatula may work. We'll try it. Let's go ahead and start prepping this. You don't want to lose any time in the kitchen. It's very easy to lose time, and you look up and you're 2 hours into one meal that should have taken you an hour. Okay, every 30 seconds, reach over and just stir.
Why'd you flip the cutting board?
I flipped the cutting board because I cut raw turkey bacon on it. Even though they say it's fully cooked, I'm still leery of potential contamination. So that's how I protect it. So I flipped the cutting board, and we're going to use a different knife. We have some things to prep. What I was saying is we don't want to lose time in the kitchen. So while one thing is happening, let's do something else. Okay? So with that being said, go ahead, and we're going to cut our onion. However, today, we're only going to use about half of this onion. This is a rather large one. So cut the butt off of one side. Cut it in half, like always. We're going to put this side back over here because we don't need it. And we're only going to use this part. Cut the other half of this butt off. Let's peel this out a layer. Let's get going. All right. I smell this bacon. It's about time. I know I said celery and bacon in the beginning. So there we go. It's getting stuffed nice. Let's go ahead and add in. Let's go ahead and add in some of our celery right now. Now we know that oil and water don't mix. So hopefully, just try to drain it a little bit with your hand. Okay? So I'm just using my hand, try to drain it a little. Drop it in. Okay? Get your celery in there. Like I said, this is all flavor that you want. You want this badly. You're going to love it. You can hear that sizzle. That's oil and water. Get all your celery in there. And at this point, we are going to season. We're going to use a little bit of our Cajun and Creole seasoning, our cajole.
So what would they use if they don't have our seasoning?
I would use a regular Cajun Creole seasoning. There's a ton of them available. And if you can't find a Cajun and Creole seasoning, use salt, garlic, a little bit of cayenne or pepper flakes, because you want a little bit of heat in this dish. That gives it that feel that they would be looking for, right? So just having a little bit of heat is good. So I'm using the Cajun Creole right here, the cajole. We're gonna go ahead and just drop it in
and I love our seasonings. I've said this before, just color? Because I know that we're controlling our salt intake. I mean, you made the blend, so like we know exactly what's in it. For those of you that are watching, either you're here in class now or you're watching this as a recording, read your labels.
And if it's sticking, you can still add a little bit more oil. We're only using light little bits.
Do you know that I saw an article, and I wish I had saved it for you, but I didn't. I saw an article. I saw an article earlier this week, that said that most seasonings contain sand. Sand.
I want to look up what the chemical name of sand is.
Yeah.
Because I believe that what they're using when they say what's the thing they say on the seasoning prevents caking.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It is to keep it from clumping. Sand.
Hey, bro, I go to the beach and I don't want to eat sand.
I don't want to eat sand.
I have had a sand sandwich before when I was younger, playing around at the beach. Not literally. You know how you face plant?
Yes. I know all too well. Oh, that looks really good. It's coming together nicely, and it's like browning.
Yes.
You said before, you were like, you want the bacon crispy, so the pan or the pot needs to be hot. It like adds so much flavor
to it, which is why I'm also using little bits of oil, because you need that to promote the crispness, and it's got to be hot. Do not worry about it burning onto the bottom of the pan. I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. But yes, that crispness, that crunch when you bite into this. See, we had this, I made it, last year for Thanksgiving?
Yes.
No, I made it for a client, and then you made me make it for Thanksgiving. Yes. All right, I'm going to cut our onion, because this has to go in, and I'm going to cut our peppers. And then once those go in, we're going to be ready to add our rice, okay? The rice actually it's not going to take as long as we think. I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, we're only using half of an onion, which actually is a lot. So I may hold back some of this, because this is still a large
And you're shaving it really thin.
Really thin, yo.
Because obviously we don't want to be chomping on large bits of onion.
No, y'all see how thin that is? Look, it's hard to show. And like I said, I'm probably only going to use half of this onion because I have a small pot. So half of a half, shaved it. Super, super, super thin. All right.
So we are right about at the halfway mark for our class. I wanted to pause right here and see if there are any questions. If there are questions, feel free to drop it in the chat.
In the chat.
Feel free to drop it in the chat.
I'm cutting our pepper. I took the top off.
Or unmute yourself.
Yep. Now to get the seeds out, you know how we do. We insert the tip, right? You just cut those connectors, and these seeds come right out. Now I'm smelling what smells like a burn. I like it. Don't worry about that. Once again, crispy. You want it. Woo! I'm smoking myself out over here, babe.
I see that.
All right, so since that's getting nice and crispy, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add in our onion. As soon as my peppers are cut, I'm gonna add in my peppers. The reason why you don't add in the onions and peppers ahead of time, actually, I'll tell you in a second once I get my peppers, get a couple peppers diced to go with that. All right, and there's a great reason why you don't add in your stuff too far ahead of time. And once again, we have a lot. We don't have a large pot, so I'm not going to use all of my onions and peppers. I'm going to save about half of it. You don't want to overpower the dish with onions and peppers, and it is easy because you have it to use it. Let's do the opposite. Ooh, that onion's trying to make me cry, baby. It's trying to get me. Okay, so I'm just cutting the peppers really, really thin, and then they're going to go in. So what I was saying is there's a reason why you don't cut the onions and peppers. You don't add the onions and peppers too early. And the reason is that they have a lot of water. So I wanted my bacon to get crisp. If I add in too much into water, I mean, I already added in the celery. Now, if I add in these onions and peppers, guess what they're going to do? Release a lot of water. Don't want that. Water does not promote crispness. Okay? So now that the onions and peppers are in there, we're going to do what we do with each layer, which is you season between layers. So come back, a little more Cajun seasoning. This is our Cajole, Cajun Creole. If you don't have that, remember salt, garlic, and a little spice. All right? We've got a few more things in here than that, but hey, that's what you got. Stir it all up. Give it a good stir. There's some beautiful colors happening, the green, the slightly red from the turkey bacon, right? The orange, the white, beautiful colors. I don't know if the smoke is allowing you to see this so well, but it's awesome. We're still on high. We have charred the bottom of this dish a lot. This is why you're gonna take just a little bit of vinegar. Any vinegar you have, not a lot. Drop it in. I'm using some Marsala. The vinegar is going to do what's called deglazing. Deglaze your pan. It starts to pull up all those charred bits. Look at the bottom of this pan. Watch that. You see how easily that comes up? Trust me, this is the easiest way to clean a pan.
Yeah, that's why you said earlier that all that flavor that was burned to the bottom of the pan,
just scrape it right
and
off.
It's not burned like black, okay?
No.
So you're not going to char this so that it tastes like,
Yeah.
burnt wood. But all that flavor that sticks to the bottom of the pan, that vinegar pulls it right up.
Pulls it right up. I need just a little bit more. And now we are going to add our water, right? So vinegar, just to pull it up. If you want to really make this authentic, add some hot sauce instead of the vinegar. Now, I don't want to burn my family out, so I'm using vinegar. And now here is where you add the water. So once again, if you really want to make this authentic, instead of adding vinegar, add some hot sauce. But we're just going to use vinegar, and we're going to add our water in. Water comes a little bit above halfway. Now, there's something, if you can zoom in really close, look at how much color that water has. This is rich. It looks like I made a soup over here. That's a rich color. That's from all of that flavor that seeped in, those from onions, peppers. Same way we would make like a gumbo, except for we don't have a roux. This is kind of that. This water has to come to a boil. While it's coming to a boil, we're gonna add in our beans. We're using black-eyed peas here. Phenomenal. These need to be drained. So go ahead, don't add the liquid from the beans, drain them. The reason why the liquid from the beans contains a lot of sodium. So we don't want that. You do not have to wash off your beans. And if you really want to be a superstar, you'll get these beans dry and you'll soak them overnight instead of using canned. But we didn't have a lot of time, so I'm going to add my beans in. Now, something that I don't know if a recipe would tell you that I think is important to tell you. I added in beans, which means I displaced a certain amount of water. So I want to go ahead and add in water to compensate. Why am I doing that? Because you need the water for the rice. So I'm just going to partially fill up this can. I'm going to add in just a little bit more. We'll save the rest for later, okay? Just to make sure we have enough water for the rice. We're going to cover this.
That is so pretty.
It's pretty, right?
It's very pretty.
It looks like we did
all that flavor. Wow, that is pretty.
Flavor. It's going to come to a boil pretty fast. So just go ahead right now and cover it. Wait for it to boil, and at that point, we'll add our rice. For right now, though, we can go ahead and we can talk about what's next, because the hard part is almost done.
I love it.
You love it, right?
I love it. I love it. So can I use something other than I'm really trying to go into the substitutions here. Can I use something other than shrimp? I mean, obviously we've talked about mushrooms, but could you put chicken in this? Like, would you have to put, you'd have to cook the chicken first?
As you talk about that, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of some of this water right here, and we're gonna get our shrimp together. We're gonna get our shrimp together. So, if you didn't want to use shrimp, you could use chicken. You could use mushrooms if you want to make this fully vegan, right? I mean, or you could just go crazy and use some lobster. Like, there's so many things. Fish. There's not a right or wrong way to do this. That's the thing about a recipe. A recipe is a blueprint. You've got to add your pizzazz and your touch. And the reason why we added the shrimp to the bowl is they're frozen for speed. So we need to defrost them and at the same time add a little flavor to it. So how do you do that? Put a little bit of our shrimp seasoning right on top, just a touch. You don't need a lot, right? So I'm only gonna do one pinch. So I only want a little bit of the seasoning in there because I'm gonna re-season it again as we go. And then we're gonna add some water. The water is gonna defrost it, and believe it, a little bit of seasoning starts to get into that shrimp. So while our shrimp is defrosting, AKA getting ready for us, we'll come back to our rice and what we were saying about substitutions. It's not just a meat you can substitute, right? You can also, like we said, rice or quinoa or bulgur if you really want, or brown rice.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to like jasmine rice, which is
and there is jasmine brown, which is what we were trying to find, but
they didn't have it.
For some reason there's a shortage on jasmine brown rice. We used to be able to find it very easily, but we can't seem to find it anymore.
There's a lot of things in the grocery store that aren't there.
I know our food system is jacked up right now.
Yeah, our whole system of distribution is messed up. This is almost at a rolling boil, which is all we need, okay? So I know time is creeping up on us. I'm putting the rice aside. We're going to prep up our other items to keep going. That's it. While you're waiting, keep it going.
So we're going to use peppers again?
Yes. And the rice doesn't have to be a rapid boil. It just has to be boiling a little bit. And we can put it in. Remember, steam is what cooks rice. You just can't put it in cold water.
Does the shrimp go into the pot?
No.
It goes into a skillet?
Wacky. We're going to saute it, okay? So that's what it's going to go into, and we're going to get it going. This is going to be for my plating, actually. So take your 2 peppers. I had a 3-pack. I always believe in presentation. You all know this. Let's go ahead and cut this right down the middle. I'm going to show you how to make a bowl out of your peppers while we prep everything else up. So cut it right down the middle right here. Okay? And just take your fingers. Well, we're gonna cut that out. So I want to keep my top. So just cut right through it right there. And then once you cut, you'll be able to pull this out with your fingers rather easily. And I'm cutting down a little bit because I don't want to cut off my stem, because stem is an important focal point, right? It's pretty. It's what you want to see. Just get your fingers in there and get those other seeds. Seeds have to go. Gotcha. All right, let's put our rice in. As I was saying, our water is
it's starting to roll.
Okay. So once again, build your mountain. Right in the middle, right in the middle. That's it. As soon as it peaks, that's it. Stir it in immediately. Okay, actually, I think we could get a little more rice in here, if I'm being honest. I think we could do a little bit more, because this is supposed to be a rice dish. Let's put a little bit more, stir it in immediately. Okay, now that's good. And cover it up, leave it on high for a second. Don't turn it down. We need to get that rice going. Once again, we didn't have it on a rapid boil, so don't turn it down yet. Just cover it, leave it on high.
I've seen you put foil over your rice. Why?
Like I'm about to do right now.
I mean, I know why, but can you explain why?
Yes, because it traps in steam, which creates pressure, which is what actually cooks the rice. It's not the heat from the bottom, it's the steam, which is why, truthfully, we love to cook rice in an oven. We just can't do that today because we're in the studio kitchen. And I know you're like, rice in the oven? Trust me. Brown rice, quinoa, any of those difficult ones, that's what you want to use.
Ooh, or rice in an Instapot.
Oh, an Instapot is
the Instapot is like my new favorite friend. We've never had, in all of the 11 years that we've been together, I've never known you to have not one gadget.
Nope, no kitchen gadgets.
No kitchen gadgets. I think the only kitchen gadget,
hand mixers.
The only kitchen gadget, which is not really a gadget that you had, was the mandolin. Which, if you don't know, a mandolin is kind of like
slicing.
It's like a slicing instrument that has like different types of blades on it, and you can easily like take your fingers off with it.
Onions. Oh yeah. You cut the whole tip of your finger or half of your finger off.
Yeah, it's this very, very scary.
No problem.
A very, very scary tool. But like that's the only thing that I've known that you've had. But the Instapot, if you do not have an Instapot, if someone, if there's somebody out there who is asking you what you want for Christmas, I highly recommend an Instapot. I've made chili and stewed chicken, and I do rice in there, and just stewed beef and oxtail, and just like every bit of everything in the Instapot. I've made soup in the Instapot. So it's super versatile. All right, so what are we doing next?
So it's been about 2 minutes. Right, I have an electric, so I'm going to turn this down now, okay? Especially because I covered it, and I can see it about to boil over. Turn it down to medium, right? If you don't want it to burn, turn it down to low and let it work. You see how that foil has expanded up? That's all steam getting trapped in there. So leave it. Some of it's water's going to leak. It's okay. You just clean it. Don't let that smell bother you. While that's happening, we have to be ready to plate. So I have some chives, which I'm going to cut on a bias. A bias just means a slant. So you get nice, pretty cuts, right? And we cut them.
I like that this meal is not only budget friendly, like it's not only shoestring budget, it's also time friendly.
Yeah. Except for your rice, which is going to take another maybe 10 minutes or so. So we're going to be slightly over, but we'll be okay. Everything else is good. I'm going to show you how to plate.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have the rice yet, because I want to answer questions. I want to take time. Or do you want
How come you haven't done the shrimp yet?
Who's that guy?
I don't know.
Who is that guy?
I don't know.
I apologize, family. All right, so let's move this.
I caught you.
You caught me. See, even chefs can have moments. We can have all kinds of moments, because I totally did about that shrimp.
Do we have a question?
My bad.
Hold on. All right, so we'll pause here for questions while Chef gets his skillet hot.
Yeah.
If there are any questions at all, go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can feel free to unmute yourself. Or if you are watching this as a recording later on, feel free to email us with your questions at chefculture, KULTURE, chefculture@gmail.com.
Yes.
All right, so
Did you have a question?
oh, I'll pause. I said I was going to pause. All right, I'm going to pause for questions.
Just waiting. Okay. Yeah, well, while we're paused, I'm cutting up some limes as a garnish. Whenever I use seafood, I like to have a little lemon or lime on the side. It's just something that we do, you know, just have a little bit here for garnish. It's fine, it's beautiful. We'll leave it for now. This is gonna get hot really quickly, which is why we like our woks. And to get our shrimp out, now for our shrimp, I will be able to use a spoon that has holes to get our shrimp out. Skillet has to get hot again. We are gonna add some oil to it. I'm using a wok because it has size. I like it. If you want to really jazz up your shrimp, I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. Let's take some of those. Grab a little bit more since you already have your scallions and chives. This is more of an Asian technique. Grab a little bit more. And instead of cutting them small, like we did for our garnish, make larger sections, right? 3 cuts, okay? And you really want, you know, we'll even take some of the stems too and put them in here just because it just looks, it's gonna look and smell amazing, all right? So I know time is winding down, so I've gotta hustle. This is just about hot enough. It's starting to smoke. Add a little bit of oil, okay? Squeeze bottle saves you, once again, measuring. A squeeze bottle makes you use less oil. Go ahead, drop in our scallions, okay? Now we're gonna drop in our shrimp. Remember, our shrimp were in a brine, so it helps defrost them, but it's not perfect, but that's okay. You hear that? Drop in your shrimp, okay? We're giving it just a few seconds in between for the pan to reheat. So as you drop them in, give it just a few seconds. Let your pan reheat a little bit. Now, depending on how hot your stove is, you can give it more or less time. I'm not really too worried about that. It's gonna be phenomenal, okay? Once we have all of our shrimp in, we're gonna season, and we're gonna get to work. Work, work, work. So seasoning that we use is a shrimp seasoning. Shrimp seasoning. And just, you know, a pinch of it right over top. Now, you ask what this is, right? At home, if you have some pink Himalayan sea salt, once again, if you have a little bit of like chili and lime, you know, that's what you want to get going. And that's it.
Cool.
Now, don't stir it. Just let it do what it does. The smell is going to hit you.
And I know this is the point at which people might add butter, right?
Yeah.
You don't need it? Okay.
You need a butter. You don't need that.
Don't need it.
You don't need it. Just give it, you know, just be patient. It starts to cook really quickly. All right? So turn it up. Be patient. Shrimp is fast. It's just the pan is just heating back up.
All right. So let's do budget shopping tips.
Okay. While we're waiting for this stuff, no problem.
I don't know that we talked about a pantry audit for
Megan's class.
For Megan's class, right?
Yeah,
for Broward Health.
Yeah.
So there are a couple things that we recommend that you do if you're going to start on this journey of just being better with food and better with what you're keeping in your house and what you're feeding your family. There is such a thing called a pantry audit. Mm-hmm. And a pantry audit simply means going through your pantry and your refrigerator and doing an assessment of what you have, right? So when we are thinking about meals, especially if you're talking about shoestring budget meals, and we've said it multiple times here, we've said that we recommend using like leftovers. You need to use everything up to the brim. To the brim, right? And so if you want to start, what you can do is do a pantry audit. You take a notebook, take a notebook, a couple sheets of paper, and literally just take a weekend to go through your pantry and kind of take stock of what you have. I have beans. How many cans of beans do I have? What kinds of beans do I have?
Leftover tomatoes, and even
even in your refrigerator. So I have a half a tomato. I have a half an onion. I have, right?
You gotta have an onion.
And so what we do is, because for us, budget meals are massively important for our family, especially right now. We run a small business, so we absolutely have to be on budget.
And the prices are going up.
And the prices, because of the supply chain, the prices are going up. So when we're talking about shoestring budget, the greatest thing, the best thing that you can do for yourself is control. Is to assess what you have and what you can do with what you have, right?
What can you do with what's in your hand?
Exactly.
And if you start cooking, you're going to notice you're not going to use up everything every meal. So all of that goes to your pantry, and that is what you do. On my refrigerator, when we give people a pantry audit sheet, there's a sheet that goes in your refrigerator that actually lists the items that you have. So as you use something, you check it off so that when you get ready to go grocery shopping, it's almost like an inventory. And then you're able just to grab it, take it with you. So for us, we know what we have left. And the reason why we do that is it assists with meal planning. So quickly you can look and be like, oh, I've got some of this, I've got some of that. All right, let's use that today. And you can make a meal that builds off of this.
Talk about the shrimp, because how do you tell when shrimp are ready?
Just about done. So shrimp, when they're ready, the first thing is the color. So I'm gonna pull this one. It turns a pink, and you start to see pink lines, almost veins, and the top of the shrimp splits a little bit, right? So, and it's firm, it's not squishy. Plus, look at, it's making a C. It's making a C. That little C right there, that means it's done. At this point here, all of our shrimp is actually done. So it's important to try not to overcook the shrimp too much because you don't want them rubbery. But that's it. They're done. This was super fast, super quick. As you're going through, visually inspect. Make sure you do flip everything over, visually inspect on the shrimp. Make sure there's not some that aren't, hiding that could go a little bit longer. You want to make sure you cook for your family. Visually inspect. So that's what I'm doing right now. But the shrimp are done. You can turn your skillet off. You can wait for it. Fry them all together. Let the residual heat finish it. If you want to make them, if you want to cook them harder, you absolutely can. That's up to you. But this is how shrimp is.
And how much? I noticed that you didn't measure the scallions or anything like that. No. Does it just go by I love scallions. So I would have absolutely crowded that pan with scallions. Is that okay?
Scallions are another vegetable, right? It's another item that we want to eat more of, something green. So you absolutely could do that. I've got a peek at our rice. Now, You absolutely know we probably shouldn't take the lid off because we told you steam is what cooks rice, but I want to peek at it. Our foil is supposed to help us out. I don't know how much it did, but let's take a look.
Ooh, pretty.
Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, so
very pretty.
Our rice has not puffed up yet, but I can see it.
Let me see if I can. Can you?
Okay, I'm gonna pull it over. Look at that. Look at that. Our rice has not puffed up yet.
So we'll give it another couple minutes.
5 minutes. But what I can do is I still want to talk about plating and answer any more questions. This is the part of this that requires a little bit of patience, right? Most recipes require a lot longer than what we did to cook this dish. I showed you a couple of cheat codes. This dish is normally an hour and a half. We're doing it so much quicker and we're talking. You can really get this done in 35, 40 minutes, honestly.
I love the quicker version. Okay. I really just don't want to be in the kitchen all that long anymore. Harder? I think we've probably been in kitchens twice as long at this age as people are most of their lifetimes.
So what you're saying is, if my real age is 35, and I'm not talking about what my real age is,
my
my real
kitchen
age
age is
is
more
about
like 70.
70.
Yeah,
I did
exactly.
that math wrong. Wow. Yeah, no. Our hours, we have put in the hours in the kitchen. That is without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
All
So
right.
are you gonna plate in this long?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I like family style. I like presentation. I had some collard greens that we made. You guys were with us when we made the collard greens.
And we had leftovers.
We had leftovers.
So we're gonna use those leftovers to
to work in because it's a meal. So these collard greens are still phenomenal. They're amazing. As always, I believe in balanced meals and creating, beautiful, beautiful presentations. So we're going to take a little bit of green. Color is important. Put the collard greens right in the bottom. Now you can do this on a square plate, and I'm doing 4 at a time because I'm plating family style. We just love how that presentation looks, right? The collard greens also serve another function. Our peppers are rounded on the bottom, so they don't always stand up. So as I put them in, I'm just pressing them down slightly just to give them a firm base so that they don't move around. That is looking, this is already looking great. I'm already loving where this is going. Okay, I'm already loving where this is going. How we're gonna finish this is, we're gonna take the Hoppin John and we're gonna fill it into each one. That's our rice mixture. That's what we said still needs just a few more minutes. And then we're gonna top it with the shrimp. Okay, now even though this needs a few more minutes, we can still go ahead and put this in just for the visual effects so you can see what I'm talking about, all right? Cool thing about rice is that because it retains so much heat, it's gonna continue to cook. So let's just carefully.
I love how it's like so much veggies. It looks like beans, like just like a bean mixture.
Yeah, this is.
So this is gonna be good for like my this is gonna be good for like my current not diet but food journey. Because the beans are gonna be great for me for protein,
fiber,
and fiber. Very nice.
Very pretty. Okay, and if a little bit spills over, it's all good. Okay, cover this back up. Come back to it. No problem.
I love the plating on this one.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got about 2 minutes left in class. I'm going to pause here for questions while Chef continues to plate. Again, if you're watching this later on and you do have questions, email us at chefculture@gmail.com. That is very pretty.
Like my work. Okay. I think we leave it like that. I don't think we add anything else.
No, every color that I would want in a dish is there.
Yeah.
All right, so let me zoom in for everyone.
Because you can add more shrimp to your plate, obviously, when you go to eat it.
All right.
But for presentation, for portioning.
All right. So this has been another class with Chef Chad Cherry for Broward Health, and we just did a shoestring budget meal. This is Hoppin John. There's so many variations that you can do with this. If you can find brown jasmine rice, or you can use quinoa. You can also use bulgur, and
You
then
said it right.
and then I never know how to say it. And then you can also substitute with chicken if you're interested. We use turkey bacon, not regular bacon. And you can also make it completely vegetarian by using some
the vegan sausage, just mushrooms.
Or just
right?
mushrooms.
Or tempeh, just stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We will see you next time.
Peace.